So, is anyone else just kind of feeling like the honeymoon period is over? I keep reading these things on the Nano forums about how people are so excited now that they're really into the groove of writing, um, that their characters are sort of taking over and developing the plot, and how it's so fascinating and so refreshing to sort of be able to let go of the reins and let them take over, and how they're discovering ways that their plot is diverting from the outline they had planned in all these wonderful ways, and how it's amazing to really discover what it was that they wanted to write about in the first place. And I feel absolutely none of that. I feel more or less the exact opposite. November 1st, I was completely enamored with the story I was going to tell. And it's less for me about the fact that the plot has started diverging from what I outlined, because as someone who writes a lot of lit fic, my plot outlines are rough at best. There have been years where they've been completely non-existent. I start with a concept and I start with a general tone. I know how I know how I want this book to sound. I know the kind of voice I want to use, the kind of language I want to use. And it's not happening for me. I had to go in and change my genre on the Nano site from lit fic to young adult. And I love young adult fiction, but that's not what I set out to write. I feel like at some point, rather than letting go of the reins and letting my characters take over, that I just completely lost any thread of what I had intended to write about. Thematically, in terms of the language and the tone, in terms of who my characters are, I feel like I sit down at the keyboard now and I'll churn out 2,000 words. No problem. But they're 2,000 words that are leading the story further and further down a path that I did not want to go on in the first place. I am not going to give up. I've had to sit down and reassess what I really want to get out of this month. Being that I'm not normally a novel writer, it does not pain me so much to think that I won't have a workable novel come December 1st. My goal right now is to produce as many words as I can in November, and come December to go back through, sift things around, do a little digging, and if I can mine a few gems from the rubble, polish them up into a series of vignettes, a few short stories, anything like that, I will consider it a successful endeavor. It has been helping me to get in the habit of sitting down and writing. I have produced something every day in November so far, even if I am several thousand words behind on my official Nano word count. And I intend to keep going. I just wish I was happier with where the path was leading me to, if that makes sense. I had really hoped to vlog about something very meta in terms of talking about the writing process for this entry, but I have just felt so disheartened by what's been happening. I don't even feel like I have a process at this point. I feel like it's sort of an automatic response. My husband leaves for work and I sit down at the desktop computer, plug in my flash drive, and type. I don't even feel like I'm writing anymore. I feel like I'm just putting words on the page that have only the vaguest connection to what I had meant for them to say or do. Hopefully I will be over this hurdle by next week, or at least more resigned to the fact that it's not going the way I thought it would. And I would love to talk the process of writing with you guys next Wednesday. In the meantime, a list of things that I have done instead of working on my Nano novel. I finished 3 weeks worth of laundry. And it was 3 weeks worth because I am a disgusting human being who should not be left in charge of a household, because I will rewear the same pair of jeans like 4 times before I feel compelled to finally do the laundry. I've written out Christmas cards and bought supplies for and handmade all of my Christmas gifts. And yes, it is November 12th. I've been living as an adult and doing the Christmas card thing and gifts for people for well over a decade now, and I have never started before December 1st, and I have certainly never finished 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, so thanks, Nano, for that. I've written 2 articles for Medium about NaNoWriMo. I have bought all the supplies for and packed my maternity bag for the hospital for that baby that I'm going to have, hopefully after Nano is done. I've taken the maternity photos. I have done all the paperwork, and yeah. So, in a lot of aspects, NaNoWriMo has really spurred me to be quite productive, just not in exactly the ways I had thought or hoped that they would on November 1st. So, I leave you after this long and rambling video in which I do nothing but vent, because God knows I need to vent to someone, and my husband is sick of listening to me. I leave you with the promise that next week I will be more positive, and I will have something to contribute to discussion on the writing process. And I also leave you with the request that if you don't know what you want to vlog about this week, if you're kind of stuck and have no already predetermined topic, I encourage you to share with me and the rest of us, what have you done in lieu of writing your novel? Because I don't care what your word count is, there's been times you could have been writing where you haven't been, and you've been doing anything else. And are you still writing the story you thought you would be writing when you sat down November 1st? If so, are you happy with it? If not, are you happy with it? How have your feelings toward your novel changed since the beginning of the month? And with that, and the promise to be more positive next time, I will leave you. Happy vlogging, and I will see you next Wednesday.